Hello, welcome to the GSSO training module for ASA Firewall. My name is Jerry Lin. I'm a consulting systems engineer in the Enterprise West region, and we're going to focus on ASA Firewall management options today. And as part of this module, I will be giving you some demos of the management options we have available. So let's look at the learning objectives. The end of this module, you should be able to describe all ASA management options available today to your customer, and also be able to look at Cisco Security Manager, be able to demonstrate key highlights of Cisco Security Manager, as well as key highlights of the Adaptive Security Device Manager. In short, we call it ASDM. But before we begin, let's review this chart that I put together for all management options available for ASA only. And SourceFire or Layer 7 additional security services is not covered in this module. It will be covered in a separate module, so we left it out here. So there are 4 options available. CLI, ASDM, which is a device manager on a per device basis. REST API, it's also a per device configuration. It's basically scripting. And the last option is Cisco Security Manager, which is a centralized policy server that can push a single policy or multiple policies to multiple ASAs. So if we look at the requirements typically requested by customers, manage multiple ASA simultaneously, pretty much CSM is your only option, okay, for multiple devices. And the other features below, like manage ASA NAT, ACL routing, etc., pretty much all 4 methods can be used, but again, from a central policy configuration perspective, CSM is the answer. Remote access can also be managed by CLI, even though I don't recommend it because the CLI structure is quite complex, and the really viable solution is to use ASDM, a per device manager, or Cisco Security Manager 4.x. From a Cisco legacy IPS perspective, there are still some deployments out there, but that has been replaced by SourceFire Next Gen IPS, and so we won't cover it here. But for your customers who are still running Cisco legacy IPS, you can use ASDM on a per device basis or Cisco Security Manager. And then the last option at the bottom, common feature, is the centralized logging. Okay, CLI certainly wouldn't do it, and ASDM again can do so, but it's on a per device. Even though there's no reporting available, but CSM is still the solution for it from a logging perspective, and I'll show you a demo of that as we go along here. The first demo I'm going to show you is the CLI console access, or SSH. It's very straightforward. You can take an ASA out of the box and simply use your management console, plug into the console port, enter a configuration T for terminal, and then enter host name, assign the interfaces, management 0/0, give it a name, interface name, security level, IP address, no shut, enable HTTP server features, authentication, etc. I'll do that very quickly with a CLI, and then you're up and running. Okay, so no demo really needed. It's very, very popular among our customers today, and everyone pretty much uses this to get the box up and running. The second management option is to use an ASA REST API. This is something that's been added in ASA 9.x code, and it really allows third-party apps tools to programmatically access ASA objects and operations. We have lots of customers that use their own configuration higher level management tool, and they leverage this REST API to push a common policy from their management console, it's a non-Cisco management console, into the ASA via the REST API. Now, REST stands for Representational State Transfer, right? It's based on HTTPS. It's basically XML over HTTPS here, and it's leveraging a request, the response type of Java scripting or Java object notation. And you can see here at the bottom that, for example, we use common methods that put, post, get, and delete commands. So we can see that there's a put command for a host name initiated by the management console or the program that it's pushing over to the ASA. of a host name called ASA-firewall. So it's a put command, and then ASA receives a command and checks out the commands, and if it's okay, it issues a response back of 200, and then it acknowledges that yes, the host name will be ASA-firewall. And further on in REST API, as I mentioned, the 4 commands: get, post, patch, or put, delete are common methodologies, and these are just some of the objects and strings that can be used with each command. And if you want further detail, you can look at the quick start guide for the ASA API listed here at the bottom of the screen here. As well as for Cisco internal employees, there's a VT share video by the business unit that talks more about the REST API. From a operator perspective, ASA is deployed with the agent or the REST API agent installed in the ASA or the ASA V, and then on the console side, you can install a plugin for Chrome or Firefox via the browser, and then you can browse to the ASA, and now we sort of call this the API playground for the operator to get familiar with the objects available within the ASA, the put, get, and post commands, and delete, and these are some of the fields that are available for the operator to play around with or for learning. Okay, so this is a pretty common practical tool here. The third option with the ASA management is Cisco Security Manager, and I will be showing you a demo here. And really, CSM is a centralized server. It runs on top of Windows 2008 and Windows 2012, so it's a software that runs on top of a Windows machine only. And this is for customers who require a centralized management for multiple ASAs, and they're looking at firewall services, IPS services, and that's the classic Cisco IPS, as well as VPN management options in the ASAs. CSM will cover ASA 8.x, 9.x, no source fire, because that's another module with another management console. It's pretty much managing L3, L4 services only on the ASAs, and there are multiple modules available within CSM that I will show you. Configuration Manager, Event Manager, Image Manager, Health and Performance Monitor, as well as a Report Manager. The names are fairly self-explanatory, and I'll show you that. Now, if you want to give CSM a test drive yourself, you can register yourself on dcloud.cisco.com, and if you look at this module available demo, there's a Cisco ASA with Firepower Services. Within that dcloud instance, there's a CSM instance available for you to play around with. And if that's not an option, you can also, with a valid CCO account, download CSM from the Cisco website. And the Cisco Security Manager will come with a 90-day eval license, so just install it on a Windows 2008 or Windows 2012 server that you may have in your lab, and install CSM on top of it with the eval license to play around with it. So at this point, I'm going to jump over to the CSM demo and show you what CSM looks like. So here I have the main console for Cisco Security Manager, and this is the Configuration Manager console. And what we should highlight to our customers is that the layout is very intuitive. It's almost very Microsoft Outlook-ish looking. That means that there's a panel in the upper left-hand side, lists all the devices that's being managed by CSM, and then you have the policy screen at the bottom here on the left, right? And then there's different categories like access rules for ACLs, there's translation rules. So if I clicked on access rule at the top here, I'm managing an ASA 5525, and I click on the access rule on the left, and now it shows me all the ACLs that's been configured on this specific device. And let me actually pick a different device. This is an ASA Virtual. So this ASA Virtual can also be managed by Cisco Security Manager. So this is a policy that's been pushed to the ASA-V in one of our demonstration labs. Okay, and you can see here in this ASA-V there are multiple rules or ACL entries configured. And in the very left-hand side, if you can barely see here, there's a little notation that tells me about the logic of the ACLs being applied here. So here's a little R stands for redundant rule, and it's telling me that rule number 3 is redundant to rule number 5. And similarly down here, rule number 6 is redundant to rule number 8, right? This is a more intelligent way of helping our customers manage their ACLs, because we know customers have ACL lists that are growing constantly year after year after year, and many of them don't spend time to go back to clean up older ACLs that no longer apply anymore. So this is the intelligent feature in the ACL manager that helps customers to manage and reduce the complexity of ACLs. Now I can take any of these ACLs, of course, I can highlight them and edit them just to see what the configuration looks like. So if I click on the little pencil mark here and highlight a specific rule, and edit ACL rule will pop up here. And you can see that it's the classic enable the rule, action, permit or deny, networks, security groups for SGT tagging, users for LDAP authentication, integration into Active Directory, destinations, services, or if I go to the advanced portion, I can jump to a more detailed configuration of this ACL rule of, do I want to enable logging, time range for the ACLs, expiration dates before a rule expires, and also provide notifications. So there are lots of advanced features within the ACL available that our customer needs. I'm going to hit cancel here. All right, and then the other option is our common feature is specifically network ASA translation. So here I'm clicking on another ASA and I go to the translation rule section. I can see there are objects, or there are NAT tables configured here. Okay, and there's different orders of NAT or priorities for NAT before, NAT objects, and after. And I'm simply going to configure or highlight this NAT rule, and you can see here that there's a NAT table that shows up. It's all very GUI focused and allows customers to specify NAT statements for source interface, destination interface, where's it going, what types of NAT it's configuring, how you want to NAT the original source IP packet and destination, etc. So lots of options available with a NAT. Okay, so that's the configuration manager to help our customers modify or control their policies to be deployed to one device or multiple devices. Let me go ahead and look at the other modules available. So you can see here under the launch menu there are other features like event viewer, report manager, and I'll get into those here. So I'm going to go ahead and launch event viewer I have running, I set up ahead of time here. This is the Cisco Security Manager event viewer, right? This is a central logging feature for all or only Cisco ASA security devices. That means firewalls and IPSs and things like that, or VPNs. You can send syslog from the Cisco devices to the CSM event viewer, and it'll all show up here. And there's different categories of you want to look at traffic type for firewalls, or NAT events, or botnet events, IPS events, etc. Lots of predefined views for you, and you can also create your own views per user, right? You may have an operator that only monitor IPS events, they can create their own views, or if you have a firewall operator only interested in firewall events, they can create their own firewall view. Okay, and let me jump to another module that's interesting within CSM is, okay, here it's the report manager. Everyone always asks about reports and more reports. So we built in a predefined report module for CSM that shows you the firewall report in terms of top hosts, top source, top destination, top services. Same thing for IPS, top targets, top attackers, and same thing for VPN. Right? The remote access, site to site, as well as remote access VPN will all send logs through here, and we categorize every single event and put them in a chart or tabular format for you. Okay, so I just don't have many data here, so I don't have much to show you here, but from a report perspective, it's all here, and you can customize each report based on time and create a schedule to generate a report by the end of the day or end of every week, and email it to a certain management group. It's all configurable by you. Okay, And then another module available within CSM is it's the health and performance monitoring. And this is a GUI that's typically deployed within a security operation or network operations. They can put this on a large screen in an operations center, and this provides monitoring of all devices within the network. So you can see here in this summarized screen that there are ASAs, and an ASA is listed here, and it gives you the time that is communicated with the device, the health status of the device, the connected status, the CPU, the memory utilization, the version numbers, etc., etc. Right? And there's more detail at the bottom in terms of if you want to drill down deeper into the IP address of the device, the alerts, and the time frame in terms of CPU utilization, etc. Right? So it's a very, very good operations tool for everyone to see here. And then the last module I'm going to highlight here is the image manager. The image manager is also available to help manage code on your ASAs, and that means ASA operating OS code itself, including AnyConnect. And AnyConnect has multiple flavors of clients like Windows, Mac OS X, Linux, Android, etc. Android is being deployed by the Google Play Store, but from a corporate device perspective, it's all hosted here in terms of code, and we can grab the code, download the code from CCO directly with a valid CCO account from CSM, and you can take these code available and associated to any ASA device that you may have. It'll show you the version of code that you're running and what additional version you can upgrade to. You can schedule a job for deployment, so it's all configurable here. Hopefully this gives you a very quick high level of CSM. CSM is a very comprehensive tool. Again, I just want to let you know it runs on Windows only, so customers will have to deploy it in typically on top of a VM, or they can deploy in a dedicated appliance, specifically like a UCS server with Windows 2012 or 2008 running on it. So next, I want to get to ASDM. That's the fourth demo. This is the Adaptive Security Device Manager. ASDM is a single device GUI that we use to configure a single ASA, and it leverages Java via the browser or as a thick client installed on Windows. It's a very, very handy tool that many customers use today to configure the ASA and look at live logs. Okay, and can be used to manage the ASA and possibly source fire. And I'll show you some of the information here. And if you don't have an ASA to play with, we can tell our customers that they can download the ASDM. There's an MSI Microsoft install image, a standalone image available on CCO. You can download that, install it on your Windows laptop, and it'll run a self-contained image of ASDM with some scripting of data in the back. So it's almost like an ASA simulation for you to play around the configuration. It's a very practical tool here. So let me go ahead and jump to the demo for you. Okay, here I brought up an ASDM instance managing an ASA here in my lab, and the IP address you can see here is 10.10.12.6. It's an ASA 5506 running 9.5.1 ASA code. ASDM is 751, etc. So this ASDM gives you a very quick overview of what the status of your ASA in terms of version numbers, number of clients, the logs that's running, interface statistics, traffic usage, CPU utilization, etc. So it's a very good, it's a very excellent operations tool. And then there's also additional tab that shows you traffic, more statistics, the bits and bytes, then the top host or top access role that's been triggered in the last hour or the last 24 hours. It's all up to you here. And ASDM actually will give you a status of ASA firepower as well, of showing that if ASA firepower from SourceFire is running in the background. In my case here, it does. But let me show you the configurations of ASA. First of all, if you're not familiar with it, you can always go with the ASA ASDM GUI. There's a smart wizard that shows you how to configure VPNs for site-to-site VPN, AnyConnect VPN, clientless SL VPN, IPsec VPN, etc. So it's very, very useful and practical. There's a high availability for HA Wizard of showing you how to set up an ASA in active standby mode, and it also does active-active in terms of clustering. Unified Communication Wizard, we won't focus on it, and Identity Certificate Wizard as well for PKI's deployment within ASAs, as well as a packet capture. If you want to capture traffic packets at the interface level, you can run this tool to grab a PCAP. So it's very, very practical tool here. And on the left-hand side, you can see there's device setup in terms of interfaces, routing, for the static routing, dynamic routing, it's all there. Firewalls, again, the most common usage is firewall rules, and you see here that everything is very GUI oriented. So you can see that I have a VPN phone interface, there's an inside interface, outside interface, there's simple ACO rules that you can configure, and if I simply edit one of these ACLs, you can see there's a menu that pops up. It shows me permit, deny, source, destination IP services. It's very similar to CSM, but it's only on a per device basis here. And same thing with NAT rules. I have a bunch of NAT rules configured here. I can say that my NAT rule for this object, network 10.2.2.0, is being natted or padded for port address translation to my outside interface. It's all configured very quickly here within ASDM here. Same thing with remote management or remote access. I can configure any connect all right from here. I can create the different remote access groups. Okay, for default web VPN, Tunnel 1, etc. It's all done through here, and that's for client as well as clientless operation. It's all done through here. Pretty much for remote access management, ASDM or CSM, or ASM and CSM are your best options for configuring remote access VPN. And lastly, there's site-to-site VPN. If I create a site-to-site tunnel to a location, it's all done within here, very, very GUI focused. Now there are some additional tools like CLI. If you want to get some CLI access via ASDM, you can within here as well. You simply type in here show running, and you'll see that a configuration is all listed in here. And other options like packet tracer. I told you about that. Packet tracer is a very nice tool to do have the ASA send a simulated packet through the ASA from the inside to whatever destination address or outside to give you a flow or simulated packet of if a packet has come through the ASA, which policy would it match, and to help you troubleshoot pretty much that if there's a user being blocked, you can simply run a simulated packet through here, and it'll tell you where the packet is being dropped. Many customers like this, and they use it constantly for troubleshooting. And other features like upgrading ASA codes in here, file management, if you want to upload new code to the ASA, it's all done through here. Backup configuration, restore configuration, system reload, it's all within here. So ASDM is a very, very powerful tool for the security operations engineer or the field engineer to get something up and running and get it done very quickly if they're not familiar with the CLI here. Okay, so I'm going to go proceed with my presentation here. Here are some resource slides on more information I talked about dCloud, how to download Cisco Security Manager, more information about Cisco Security Manager, ASDM installation location on CCO. It's all available on these slides. So in summary, what we covered today is a description of all the ASA management options available, so you should be familiar with that. And then I've also demonstrated the key highlights of Cisco Security Manager that you should highlight to our customers, as well as the key highlights of Adaptive Security Device Manager or ASDM. Very powerful tool. I recommend all of our customers use it to help them with daily operations. Hopefully you found this educational, and thank you for your time.